Free land, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Walter Brooks Show. Get your VCRs going. We're going to talk about a few things. Let me say that we're going to talk, we got the autopsy. We're going to talk about that. And also some things that are happening in Pigskill. And it's an interesting article that was in today's paper in the Journal News in the Westchester area. The law that would shield the Austin Board from any kind of civil rights action. So after I finish the brief presentation, what we're going to do is we're going to continue to film on the Black Panther Party. As you know, last week I showed how the Black Panther Party was founded with Bobby Seale. And just let me say, brothers and sisters, you know, like I said last week in terms of the African spirit and how it moves and you know, and how it gets in people. Today I got a call from Akua Hampton. That was Freddie Hampton's wife. As you know, the FBI and the Chicago police under the district attorney Hanrahan, the DA Hanrahan, that's the district attorney, and the police department set up the assassination of Freddie Hampton. And one of the things that they did, brothers and sisters, and I don't know if you see it in this film tonight, but certainly she's in town and I'm going to try to get her on the show. They had infiltrated a person into Freddie Hampton's group, the Chicago Black Panther Party. And on the night that he was killed, this agent, who by the way was the person, the sergeant in arms and secured the armory, drugged Freddie's Kool-Aid. So when the police came into Freddie's house, some came through the cellar. They had the plans already laid out. Some came through the front door and the back door. Killed Mark Clark right out because he answered the door. But Freddie's wife, Akua, was pregnant. And the police were firing down in the cellar, see, where they knew his bed was because this agent had given the police department and the district attorney's office the layout where Freddie would be sleeping that night. So bullets came up through him and police officers assaulted his bedroom. And Sister Akua, hopefully we'll have her here, and I'd love to get her on. She threw her body over top of Freddie and took bullets in her. This black woman. And she survived and the baby survived. And the son grew up to be a revolutionary like Freddie, and he's in jail for so-called burning down something or during the Rodney King thing, something like that, you know. But it was a frame-up, and there have been marches all over Chicago. But this is the kind of spirit that, you know, you're going to see that was in the Black Panther Party and in black people. See, you can find that in people. And we had that spirit around the Chris Malone execution. See, we had that spirit. But as we went on, you see, as we moved, like I said on my show before this thing was even over with, those people that were marching, you know, they was going to lose contact with reality. They started believing Massa. Massa even called him over to Janine Pirro. She called him over to the DA's office, and they believed the things that she said. And I'm going to talk about that in a little while. First, let me say my condolences to Brother Rashid. And Brother Rashid, I had you know, met a brother, a mutual friend that works over here in Spring Valley. And he told me that your wife had, you know, made that transition, brother, and I'm truly sorry, and I know how you feel. You know, when my wife passed, I didn't have a young child, but, you know, as you know, brother, and like I was shocked, but anytime, you know, you want to discuss things, call, man, you know, one of the things that I found, man, was getting back to work, getting back into the movement. But that spirit will visit you, man. That spirit is always there. And, you know, have no fear. There's something after this. And so I feel good, and I feel that the spirits are with us because a lot of things are happening, and they just don't happen out of a vacuum. Last night, which would have been October 26th, mostly white folks, but Brother Darrell Davis and some people went to the city council meeting in Peekskill, and that was to discuss the surveillance cameras. And brothers and sisters, as you see all over the country, police are getting surveillance cameras targeting those areas where our people frequent. Also the train station, something similar they wanted to do in Austin, and probably they'll be doing that pretty soon as things die down and black people go back to, you know, doing things as normal, not being on top of things. And we got some Negroes that actually approve of this. They don't see the bigger picture. They don't see what's going on. And so I just want to read a discussion that took place with Peekskill Police Chief Tumalo on 9/29/98. And this was in regards to the video surveillance. And you can read into this, brothers and sisters, because we not no fools. This conversation was a white man talking to one of our white brothers. You know, somebody that believes in freedom, justice, and equality, talking to Chief Tumalo in a telephone conversation. And first of all, just let me read the opening part. You know, well, there's going to be a video surveillance system is to be installed along Main Street in Peekskill within a month's time, extending from Bowman Towers to James Street. A camera to be placed at the intersection of Main and Division will be able to scan Division Street as well as Main Street. Bids for the system have been requested. The cost will be about $150,000. The camera will scan the street so there will not be 100% coverage of the entire street all the time. Videotapes will be destroyed after 30 days. Well, you know, Nassim, they destroyed tape in 2 or 3 days when Reddy made his audio tape. A person will not monitor the system all the time. Now these are quotes now. This is not Big Brother watching, said the chief. The police are getting complaints of people misbehaving, of uncivil behavior, drug dealing. We can't be everywhere at once, he said. And this is a way of increasing the police's ability to curb misbehavior. The very vibrance of the city is at stake, he continued. The intent, he said, is to promote a change in behavior. Now, you know, down in New York and in some places like Austin, they call it an attitude adjustment. You know, when they whip on you with them nightsticks and stuff. He said there is no intention to identify any group or race. He mentioned problematic behavior as including young people with mean dogs, kids cursing people, kids riding their bikes in rude or dangerous ways. People are disgusted with this, he said. He said he would like to energize the community in doing more to promote better behavior. The surveillance system is an alternative to deal with misbehavior in the face of the community's passivity or indifference. The surveillance system has some drawbacks as far as he's concerned. He mentioned the need to have a person monitoring all the time. Furthermore, it adds to his responsibility and offers an opportunity for someone to ask why, if the system was being used, this or that incident was allowed to happen. He said he could see that some people might be concerned about civil rights and privacy issues. He remarked that extensive federal powers, as through the IRS, could raise these concerns. The implication was that local law enforcement would present such a threat. He remarked earlier in the conversation that people who are behaving according to the law would not have to be concerned about the surveillance system. He said he would be open to discussion to alternatives to surveillance in the interest of improving the behaviors that seem troublesome. Now, this was distributed by a brother, and Brother Nick, and did a good job. I understand they went to the city council that night, and they just gave the impression that this is, Pixar is like a fascistic type of government, man. It's like worse than Austin when it comes to black people. So, and in fact, brothers and sisters, there's an Uncle Tom Negro by the name of Winston Ross. He's the regional head of the NAACP. And in fact, he's honoring the mayor of Peekskill. Can you believe it? These Negroes are going out of their minds with all this honoring. And what they do, they honor each other. They honor each other that's in that power structure and that gives monies to Cap. I don't think Gibbs gave no money to Cap. The money's come through the county. But can you believe this? And I haven't seen the NAACP. What's his name, Bob Spencer? I seen him down in Austin leading the march around Chris Malone when all them TV cameras and stuff was down there and all the radio and newspapers. I don't even know if he introduced himself to Miss Malone. But he was down there leading the march, but I ain't heard him say nothing about the surveillance. I ain't heard him say nothing about nothing. Except that they was having some kind of get-together at one of these places, a big dinner. Where are the ministers? They don't see fascism moving like we do, see? Because we in the spirit. See, we got some genetic memories of what happened to us and what possibilities could happen to us. So let's keep that in mind, brothers and sisters. Listen to what that police chief said. I want to thank my brother, Tom Knight, for inviting me to meet some of the South African delegates that had came here to Austin. Brother, it was very, very interesting, and I didn't want to go up to the village hall because I would probably broke out laughing. And the reason, I don't know if you saw the Bill Scott show, but Bill Scott and I, they're calling Talking Black. We were talking to the vice chair of the Communist Party. And, we had been in East Germany together, the Soviet Union together, and with many, many South African brothers and sisters that belong to the African National Congress. As Brother Robert, what's his name, Ramath Bani, Robert was one of the people. In fact, he was some official in the western part of Johannesburg. And he told a brief history. And listen to this history, brothers and sisters. This history was his father was in the underground fighting white folks. Not only fighting white folks, but them Uncle Toms that supported the system. When you read the history of South Africa, the ANC and other guerrilla organizations killed more black people than they killed whites, because those were the most treacherous ones among us. Sell you out for 12 pieces of silver. And he said that his father sometime was in Uganda, sometime he was stationed in Sweden. He was stationed all around the world, so he must have been a very important person in the ANC. Now, the ANC was formed a few years after the NAACP. Now, the white people in South Africa came to America to study the system of segregation. And when they went back to South Africa, they instituted this form of racial oppression called apartheid. Now, Brother Robert says when he was 15 years old, his father turned him over to the military. The military, in turn, sent him to Cuba to train. When he finished training in Cuba, he went to East Germany to train. When he was 19 years old, he was sent into another military in another country, like SWAPO, Southwest African People's Organization. And their strategy was to undermine white oppression. See, he gave an example of a chair with legs. when you knock out this leg over here and you knock out that leg over there, the chair is going to fall. And that's how they felt about South Africa. Now, once he got that skilled military training, that combat training, they infiltrated him back into his homeland, South Africa. His job was to let people know what this whole thing was about. Now, this brother had the good fortune to be educated. See, the reason why we haven't seen the movement that we thought that we were going to see in South Africa, brothers and sisters, you got to remember that the white man did not let these brothers and sisters get an education. The revolutionaries had to basically come on the outside in political exile. You saw some of the kids in colleges. You know, when I was head of the NAACP, I brought up some of the black youth from South Africa to Austin, and the head of the ANC, the spokesman here. When President Nixon, I think it was Ronald Reagan or Nixon, one of those two dogs, had labeled the ANC as a terrorist organization. The United States had identified the ANC as a terrorist organization. Now you got to remember that this brother that was honored up in Austin was a part of that organization. But today he is not a terrorist. Today he is a political official in the western part of Johannesburg, being recognized by white supremacists in Austin. So it was really funny. And when we got together, I told him that I had worked with the ANC for about 10 years or more. And when I was in the Communist Party, my job was to go to LaGuardia to pick up one of the comrades who had been on Robben's Island with Nelson Mandela. And I think this brother was probably too young to remember him, but he knew the name because the name was that of a national hero, Dumo Nakwe. And when I picked that brother up at the airport, he told me that there were British intelligence officers that stood behind his seat. They didn't even sit, they stood as he flew from England to the United States. And that according to his visa or permission to come into the United States, he couldn't go but a 25-mile radius from New York City. And so my job was to meet him at the airport and to take him to a rally with Angela Davis. And he was a part of the military. The military was called Nkuntu Wesizwe, the spear of the nation. Robert, the brother that was honored up in Austin, belonged to that. And when you read the history, you know, they wiped out some people, man. They wiped out some police, white, black. See, the police and the army, they used to pick black people up in South Africa, particularly during the black consciousness movement when Steve Biko was the black consciousness leader. And they would take these young brothers and sisters, sometimes shoot them, not kill them all the way, and throw them into the crocodiles. I believe one time 300 or 400 young people and old people were fed to the crocodiles by these white racists. And so he told us not to be bitter. And I understand what he's saying, because bitterness, you know, we lose control. We're not bitter, brother. We're just angry, but we know there's a better day ahead. And, you know, we're going to be in correspondence with you, letting you know what's happening in this white supremacist town of Austin, which is probably the sister, it's going to be a sister town with in Johannesburg. And, you know, maybe we, you know, see, the thing is that, you know, a lot of people have criticized Nelson Mandela, and we do that from an arrogant position. We don't know what them brothers is going through and sisters. See, they don't have control of the Army and Navy. Even when you go into Namibia and the other countries. See, white people have still have that control because we are gradually educating our people. Once they get the education, you know, we'll see this transition, you know. And you still got the hand. When Nelson Mandela was arrested, brothers and sisters, you got to remember it was the United States FBI that tracked him and pointed him out to the secret police in Africa, and that's how he was arrested. Read the history of Mandela. Read the history of South Africa. You'll know who these people were that went Austin. I think some of the black people that was, there didn't know what the brother really was about. That was the African National Congress, declared a terrorist organization by the United States government. And now they're recognized as freedom fighters. It's something like the Revolutionary War. The Americans were looked at as terrorists, the revolutionaries. And they kicked the British butt, and they got, what we call the United States of America. So today's terrorist is, tomorrow's hero. The same way in Israel, the Irgun, the Stern Gang, all these people that were fighting for Israel to be a state, they were declared terrorists when they blew up the hotel and killed all them British people, But now they're heroes and recognized by their people. We the only people, we black people, we the only people that don't recognize our revolutionaries as heroes, as prisoners of war. It's a war going on here, brothers, sisters. Let me say that we had a time at the Crown Plaza Hotel. Charles Campbell Committee was honoring Janine Pirro. Brother, and the spirits was with us. Brother Chris's spirit was with us. Myron Travis' spirit was with us. Let me tell you what happened. Charles Campbell's spirit was with us. We was at my house making posters, getting ready to go over to White Plains. And a Negro calls my house, a female. And she says, "Why are you coming to picket the Charles Campbell fundraiser? We're raising money to put kids in school and scholarships." I said, "Sister, we're not coming to picket the Charles Campbell Committee. We coming to picket the idea that they're honoring and picket Janine Pirro for what she did to us. We coming over there to picket that hoe, so we coming." Then she says, "Well, how you gonna equate Myron Travis and Chris Malone with Charles Campbell?" I said, "Oh Lord, now here we go." Charles Campbell was just like them brothers there, like all of us. He wasn't nothing extra special. Brothers know him in Austin. Brothers and sisters know him in Pigskill. He had the same vices we all have. He had the same vices we all had. He might have been fortunate enough to get a job. Maybe fortunate enough to make that transition as Brother Chris Malone was doing. You didn't know he got accepted at college. He was making a transition. So that was the mentality that I was dealing with. And so she went on and on and on, but I said, "Look, sister, we got to go." And we coming over there. And man, when we got over there, I guess I was acting kind of a fool. I was telling them Negroes, "Shame on you. Come on outside." And I guess that spirit went right on in there, went into the hotel. Because Randolph Scott McLaughlin, the lawyer at Pace University, he came out. Michael Lynch, the head of the Charles Campbell Committee, they all came out, tuxedoed down, and they wanted to shake hands and stuff. So I grabbed Randy around the shoulders and told the cameraman to take a picture of me and Randy McLaughlin together. He jumped up and said, "Oh, no pictures," and ran back in the hotel. But what the interesting thing was, sisters and brothers, the Negro leaders, they all went in the back door, along with the district attorney, Janine Pirro. They all went in the back door. Usually when you come to Crown Plaza, you want to pull your car up, let everybody see your Lexus, or let everybody see your Mercedes. Then you look all around, and then you go into the parking lot, park your car, and you come back downstairs and walk through the front door. These Negroes went through the back door. It was like in a book called The Miseducation of the Negro. Carter G. Woodson said, "If there is no back door, the Negro will make a back door." So these Negroes, like Winston Ross, the head of the NAACP in Westcott, and all these Negroes, they went in the back door. Another thing that the sister said to me on the telephone, how you gonna pick it when Reverend Sharpton is coming? And I said, Reverend Sharpton, I don't know if he's coming or not. But Reverend Sharpton, see, when we got there, was on the program as a featured speaker. So while we was doing our posters and stuff, Dow turned to me and said, you think Reverend Sharpton is coming? I said, I don't know, brother. He said, you think I should make a call? I said, yeah, make a call to Reverend Sharpton. It's a good thing Brother Dow Davis made a call to Reverend Sharpton, because Reverend Sharpton was under the mistaken impression that they was having this fundraiser to do some things in the community. I don't even think he knew that Janine Pirro was going to be there. So as Sharpton was driving up the highway and he got the message and what this whole thing was about, his driver made a turn and went on back to New York. So we had the juice on that night. The Spirit was with us, and we were successful. Now, we only had about 20 people. Paper said 15, so maybe I will say 15. Even if we had 5. See, we was in the Spirit. And that's what I'm telling you, brothers and sisters. Don't lay down on this job. We got a job to do. When you marched 800,000 strong in Austin, we said we want to get to the bottom of this. Yeah, and that's what we doing. I just want to read you the claim that I dropped on the village of Austin. Me and Brother George Thornton went up and served the village with these papers, because it's some. You saw this article in the paper today. It says the law would shield Austin Board from civil rights action. I want to talk about that in a bit. But this action says it's the nature of the claim. It's the violation of Chris Malone's constitutional rights to be free from excessive force, wrongful use of deadly force, and wrongful death, as well as the state common law rights to be free from assault and battery, as well as his federal and state law right to be free from invasion of personal privacy. At the time where the place happened, on July 19th, Chris Malone was wrongfully shot and killed in James Street at the corner of Spring in the village of Austin, New York. Said shooting constituted excessive and unreasonable use of deadly force. At all times, the police officers who engaged in the shooting acting as agents of the village of Austin within the scope of their agency. The claimant suffered damages in the amount of $5 million, which include, but is not limited to, physical pain, suffering, mental pain, and suffering. Further, his mother and other relatives lost the support and service, as well as the love, society, companionship, and affection of their decedent Chris Malone. Now, we heard all these stories that Chris Malone was running from the police, and he ran to the James Street house, or the 40 James Street, and as he made some kind of turn, the police shot him. This was told to the Police Community Relations Board, that he was shot in the torso, and Slater supposedly kicks a gun from between his legs and puts it in his back, walking around the street with it in his back, and Chris Malone expired in the hospital later. Well, that's not what the autopsy says, brothers and sisters. And we're going to have a community meeting. And all you people that's calling Chris Malone's mother and stuff, telling her she should put the autopsy out there in the public, it's going to be out there in the public. Call Dow Davis. Call me. We're going to let you, it's going to be public. But see, we know that you don't believe black people. You didn't believe the Undertaker when he told you how the brother was shot. You believed the white woman, the white man, Massa. You believed Janine Pirro, because she presented you with evidence and forensic stuff that just overwhelmed you. And some of you came back and said that you believed it. So we know that you don't believe your brother, the undertaker that told you what happened. So what we're going to do, we're going to try to get white people, forensic experts, and we blow this whole thing up so you can see, because we have permission from Sister Renee. And I got to admire your courage, sister. You know, I know how it is. I know how you feel. I'm saying I know how you feel. I don't know how you feel really, but I know that, you know, this is hard, but I admire your courage. And let me say this, sister. It was Darrell Davis and myself. You know, we in contact with these lawyers every day. I know that you know it. We ain't selling out. They can't give us no place. They can't give us no money. They can't give us no white woman. See, we ain't into that. We just into justice. We got that African spirit in us for justice. And we know what these police is doing. So they can't do that, sister. So if we ever do something wrong, you can call us down on it. If the lawyers ain't talking, you need something, you can call us on it. You know that. It ain't like last time. See, everybody, when them cameras was out there, cameras is gone now. Now the hard work start. Somebody was talking about raising $150,000, raising $200,000 to set up some kind of big foundation. Well, all we're going to need is a little bit of that, brother and sister. All we're going to need is a little bit of that to prove our case that this brother was murdered. So Chris Malone wasn't shot like Janine Pirro told the black people that went over there. And all that forensic evidence that she presented. Now, I don't even know nothing about forensic and ballistic evidence, but I do know English. I do know what I can read when they have the body laid out there. I do see a bullet hole going here in his head and coming out through here on the autopsy. I see that. I see a bullet going through his back that says entrance and coming out here for Osney's finest and bravest. I see a bullet going through his back where it says entrance. I see another bullet going in the back of his leg that says entrance, shot from the back. I see that. Yeah, we're going to lay it all out for these crackers, these murdering pigs. Lisa Gallagher. Yeah, we know. And it's all gonna come out, see? But we gotta do like the white man did with our people, see? Because the Undertaker told us he was shot in the back and shot through the face. Why would he have the screen there? But the Negroes, I mean, you know, they didn't want to hear that. They believed the white man, what they said, because they got the power. I know how it is, you know. I mean, I believe. Let me tell you, I was watching the O.J. Simpson case. As soon as them crackers got finished giving their thing about O.J., I said, oh, my God, the man is guilty. When Johnny Cochran came back and his lawyers, they said, uh-oh, watch it. Brothers and sisters, we got some of the best lawyers in this country. We got access to my brother, what's his name, that did the O.J. case. I was with him in Philadelphia. Because I'd love to see Slater's clothing, you know, with the blood on it, you know. So we can get that examined. He said, you know, he took that gun and put it in his back, and he had somebody verify they saw it. And yeah, you know, we all know that. Brothers and sisters, we are not dumb. We were out there, and that morning they was looking for the gun in the sewers. But we're going to get into that more. As I said, our people are studying it. It's a 32-page document. So it's going to take a while, but we're going to bring it to Osney. But I'm just telling you what I saw in English. See, I don't know everything about the scientific and biological stuff, but I can read entrance and exit. And just what I told you, the entrances and the exits were, that's what it was, and that's what we're going to show. Tom Cambry, Airy, And all you village trustees are trying, and that bootlicker, what's his name? What's that bootlicker's name? The black trustee. And he can't even stick with his own people. Now look at this article here. This is October 27th. Yeah, brother, you can stand up like a black man. You ain't got to cover up for them people. You know the deal. You've been black all your life. Damn, brother. Have something. Damn, we got to drag the stuff out of you. Law would shield Austin Board from civil rights action. Wrongful death suit is a catalyst as trustees slate public hearing. It's going to be a public hearing on this. And I'm saying for the good white folks, I don't know if we're going to get this autopsy out in time, but if you believe what I said, see, this is what this is all about. Village officials are considering a law to protect themselves from having to pay punitive damages in civil rights cases out of their own pockets. The Board of Trustees has scheduled a public hearing for November 4th on a proposed change in local law. The hearing will come less than a month after Renee Malone, whose son was killed by police in July, filed a notice that she intends to bring a $5 million wrongful death lawsuit against the village. And Penny Markowitz, she cracks me up. Listen to this. But Trustee Penny Markowitz said the proposed change was not prompted by the death of 24-year-old Chris Anthony Malone. She and other village board members had not realized that Austin didn't provide such protection until she attended a meeting this month at the Westchester Municipal Officials Association, where a White Plains attorney warned about mounting litigation against local governments. That's not what we heard. You know she's lying. No one on this board knew punitive damages weren't covered. Upon finding this out, we thought it was in our best interest to have the board protected. Markowitz Moses said, I don't want anyone else living in my house compliments of the judicial system. Yeah, we're going to be living up there, Penny. I'm going to be living up there. No, I ain't going to be living up there. My friends will be living up there. We're going to have barbecues all over Eagle Bay. Yeah, we're going to be living up there. You know what you're talking about, brothers and sisters. I don't want nobody living in my house compliments of the judicial system. What about all our people got our houses taken away? I almost got my house taken away because of the judicial system. Because my son was doing something I didn't even know nothing about. They was going to try to take my crib. Yeah. And the reason that they should take it, because y'all covered up. You're trying to cover up for these lowlifes. And you know it. You know what they are. You don't have them up at your house. You don't have them at no parties. You know what they're all about. The proposed law would provide for the defense of any village officer or employee or any civil action or proceeding, only where the officer or employee at the time was acting in good faith and within the scope of his public employment. Village Attorney Thomas Barnes said the proposed change would not cover police officers. But the village is drafting a parallel provision that would offer police the same protection. Check this out. Now, Tom Barnes is supposed to be a corporation counsel. He's supposed to be up top on all this stuff. It ain't like the Austin Village Police haven't been sued before. It's not like they haven't been sued before for beating up on black folks and white folks. You got some different cast of characters now, though. Yeah, you got some different cast of characters. Jerry Smith said he believed, well, I'm not going to read what he said, but he said just what we feel. That, he thinks the amendment that we're trying to have accountability. When you intentionally violate a person's civil rights. Now, see, this is what the head of the NAACP feels. Intentionally violating the civil rights. He knows the deal. You should be personally held accountable. Why should the village pay for your actions at the taxpayer's expense? All right, Jerry, I like that. And brothers and sisters, we moving on. Yeah, we moving on. Sister Malone is in good hands. And, we ain't got to do nothing unless she approves of it and what the lawyers say. See, We're not no amateurs. We're not getting out there and get caught out there. But we just want to let the black people know, and the white people. See, they got some good white people on the Police Community Relations Board, and some of them believe Tom Cambieri, and they believe Janine Perry. I know they did, because if I had went over there and they had and I didn't know the police, and I didn't know what district attorneys was all about, and I thought that they were honest, you know, I would believe it too. But my upbringing always told me that these people were our enemy, the enemy of black people, and the enemy of people, period, that struggle against the system. The district attorney. I've never known a district attorney to be a friend of nobody. So that's what my teachings were. So I don't even think I would have dignified Brother Malone by even going over there and hearing it, because I know better. And so what we want to do is let you on the Police Community Relations Board, we're going to invite you, hopefully, when the lawyers get finished analyzing this stuff, and we're going to have people present it in a professional way, and we're going to show you that these cops were a bunch of damn liars, and we're also going to talk about how certain witnesses were intimidated, and they do this in all the communities when things like this happen. And fear was brought against them not to come to the grand jury and testify. Because you got to remember, all those people out there was in the street, and some people in that street life, they're doing a lot of things. So the police use their backgrounds and funnel that to state troopers investigating and cops. You know, they all work together and they use this stuff against the people. So look, brothers and sisters, I want to bring you a little brief glimpse of finish up with All Power to the People. I'm not finished with it yet, because I want to show you parts on how the police and the FBI and the military worked to kill Dr. King through J. Edgar Hoover, the police agency, the FBI. But I just want to give you another glimpse of this All Power to the People. And it's heavy, brothers and sisters. And this is, again, about the Black Panther Party. So my brother, the engineer, will probably roll a tape. And remember, you know, we in the spirit of Brother Chris. We're going to bring these people to justice.
It was called the Ivor Coon. It was like, we call it the Red Guard. And we had a group called the Brown Berets.
These were the models or the institutions that we were creating, which would themselves, by example, educate and show the people that this is an alternative.
These were some very intelligent, legitimate, and kind and generous people.
And for those of us who took that step inside and who opened our doors as well, it was a relationship that would last a very long time.
I had an incident happen where I was jumped on by a gang on the south side of Chicago. And when I went to the police for help, the first policeman who was near the site in a police car, when I stumbled after being beaten for a while, and my friend was still in this building being beaten, and I told him what had happened, he looked at me and said, "So what?" And I was shocked, because this is not the way it was supposed to happen. That's not the way it would happen on Leave It to Beaver and Ozzie and Harriet. All of a sudden, I began to see what was going on all around me. And I started getting involved.
I tell people now, when I talk about it, I tell people it wasn't the Panthers that made me a Panther, that made me decide to join the Black Panther Party. It was the New York City Police Department.
When I did join the Black Panther Party, you thought that you just had to have a gun and that was it. And I was totally wrong. What you had to do was pick up some books and start to educate yourself.
Huey P. Newton had the capacity to mediate and meditate on all these confluent and sometimes competing elements in the history of modern thought.
The Black Panther Party was different in the sense that it considered itself a revolutionary nationalist organization, the ideological heirs of Malcolm X.
We stood for the creation of a revolutionary society where people of African descent would be given the right, not given, because the process involved in this ideology was one of the people take their rights. Mao Zedong's writings, in particular the quotations from Mao, which is known as the Little Red Book, proved very effective for that because it helped us to develop the discipline and the techniques necessary to do our community work.
I hear this a lot from young people saying they had no idea there were any women in the civil rights movement. They had no idea there were any women in the Black Panther Party. Of course there were women. There were women leaders in the civil rights movement. There were women leaders in the Black Panther Party. I was the Central Committee member. I was the communications secretary of the Black Panther Party.
The persons who tended to have the most sophisticated and intellectual understanding of revolutionary concepts and ideology, and who had more maturity and sophistication in organizing skills, tended to be women. Women like Afeni Shakur, Joan Bird, Assata Shakur, Kathleen Cleaver.
There were women at every demonstration. There were women who were arrested in some of the shootouts, such as the Los Angeles office when they paraded all the Panthers out. Among the people arrested were women. There were women on trial, such as Erica Huggins, when Bobby Seale was tried for conspiracy to commit murder. So was Erica. It wasn't like the women's section or the women's auxiliary and the men Panthers. We're all in this together.
We were involved in the process of re-socializing and re-educating ourselves as black men to the contradictions of sexism in the black community.
Come on in, little brothers. Come on in, little sisters. Y'all can sit down and get something to eat.
This was a powerful thing that the Black Panther Party was about. Again, with the programs like the breakfast program, the health clinic, the prisoner visitation program.
I remember the sickle cell anemia program. Check this out. In 1968, the Black Panther Party, sickle cell anemia was not noted in the United States like it is today.
I mean, health care is essential to your life. And to be denied health care because you don't have the money to pay is like saying, well, your life isn't worth anything. And so to have this clinic available, and the clinics that exist today because of what was started then, these clinics provide a service that is invaluable.
We were constantly 24 hours a day doing something, working with our community and supporting our community and cleaning up our community.
These are not the types of activities that are done by a gang.
Jesse Unruh, who was the treasurer of the state of California, said that the Black Panther Party was feeding more hungry children than the United States government.
As far as the food program, we went out to the merchants in the community.
We would ask them a simple question: how much of this money that you've made in your business have you contributed back to the community? And over 90% of them said zero.
And we approached them for canned goods or food or day-old bread or fresh food, whatever the case may be. So they donated. And that's how we got to serving people in the community who didn't have food or went to school on an empty stomach.
And so at 5 o'clock in the morning, you'd have to get up from the Panther Pad over there and go over to this breakfast program, start up the stove and make the breakfast, and then make sure it's ready in a timely fashion. And it's a hot breakfast with the sausage and the eggs and the grits.
And if it called for us to stay there and scrub the walls and do whatever was necessary, we would do that.
We feed about 10,000 all across the country each day.
Well, of course, we started our own programs too. You know, the American Indian Movement, we started, but we patterned them after the Black Panthers organizations. We had free breakfasts, we built schools, we have our own clinics. We went into, of course, communications. A lot of the things that the Panthers did, we patterned our ideas off of, you know.
The Young Lords Party and the Black Panther Party wanted every municipal hospital that serviced the poor in New York to have an acupuncture experimental center inside of their drug program. And because we were the first, we became targets. 100 policemen came to the Bronx and arrested us and took us away from the center.
When these efforts started to show a little bit of success, that's when the government moved in.
COINTELPRO was the code word for counterintelligence program, and it was a program that the FBI created in 1956 to go after the Communist Party with intentions of trying to neutralize the party, put it out of business.
In 1967, they start what became known as MH Chaos, a code word for illegal domestic operations within the United States.
We can say that the COINTELPRO was a kind of codification for white supremacy in America, because the function of the FBI was to preserve white political, social, economic supremacy in America.
Counterintelligence staff under James Angleton was not the only CIA office which was involved in illegal operations within the United States and with the general attempt to get information on the foreign hand in the protest movement. The Office of Security was another major effort by the CIA.
I've seen top secret documents from the White House authored by Nixon communicating with J. Edgar Hoover specifically about the Panthers.
Hoover had, well, if you want to call it an enemy list, had lists, but it's difficult to say what Nixon's men had. They pulled the Watergate, so I guess they could do just about anything.
The Black Panther Party was looked at as the #1 threat to the internal security of the United States of America. These are word-by-word, verbatim quotes from J. Edgar Hoover.
The year of '69, every branch and office of the Black Panther Party in one way, shape, fashion, form, or another was attacked by the power structure, law enforcement agencies, and so on.
There's people walking around out there like walking wounded, you know. It's just like they've been in Vietnam. Victims of gun battles and sieges and isolation and torture and destroyed families and dead parents. But nobody knows about them and nobody really cares. And that story is one that hasn't been told yet.
At the University of California at Los Angeles, 2 Black Panthers were shot to death during a black students' meeting on the campus last Friday.
2 FBI informants and the United Slaves had shot and killed Bunchy Carter and John Huggins on the UCLA campus.
Us organization slapped a member of Black Panther Party at the time, Elaine Brown.
Was going with John Huggins, so when she told him that somebody from the US organization had slapped her, he pulled his pistol out. This is when the 2 brothers, or supposedly Steiner brothers, supposedly steps out from behind the doors and open fire and kills John and kills Bunchy.
And the FBI agent who was controlling the 2 informants was concerned that some white students might have been shot on campus.
The members of the US organization were taken from the crime scene with the FBI.
The government or whoever, power, COINTEL, whatever, they were able to kill a party when they killed Bunchy. When they killed Bunchy, they killed the party. We just didn't know it.
They're being exploited. But you and I and they are all the same.
I believe it was April 1st, 1969. We were taken down to the Manhattan District Attorney's office in the wee hours of the morning after having been roused from bed by teams of machine gun-toting policemen. Gene Roberts had the dubious distinction of having been Malcolm X's bodyguard when he was assassinated. He was one of the major agents in the Panther 21 case.
They brought us all in and put us in one room. They brought Ralph White Sedan, the other undercover agent, with his sawed-off shotgun, and they brought him in with his head down like he's under arrest, took him in another room, and they had Gene Roberts sitting in another office, sitting down, looking like he was depressed, like he was arrested.
And it was down there that we realized that there were 3 undercover agents that were actively involved in framing us for the charges for which we were arrested.
After they get the conspiracy charges on you, they let the agents out the side door, and they go back out in the community as nothing's wrong, or they were still Panthers when they wasn't Panthers at all. They were just agents that infiltrated the Black Panther Party.
Most of the Panther 21 spent 2 years in prison after a trial that lasted 15 months. A jury came back with a not guilty verdict in 45 minutes on all 150 counts of conspiracy. It was a colossal victory to have defeated the state's attempt to criminalize the leadership of the Black Panther Party.
They're being exploited.
Elridge Cleaver, the Black Panther leader who fled to Cuba.
Get ready to go off, brothers and sisters, but I want to show you some more of this because it's very interesting how they use police to infiltrate our organizations, and don't think they're doing that, not doing that around this Chris Malone thing. So that's why we have it like a tight thing now. It's not like open like it was everybody, you know, everybody's business and stuff like that. And we're going to keep you all apprised of what's going on, and it's going to come out when our lawyers, Mr. Malone's lawyers and the Center for Constitutional Rights think it's appropriate. And so next week, hopefully I'll have Sister Akua on. I know she called me and said she's on her way to St. Petersburg, Florida, and I'm going off talking, but again, I said she was a member of the Black Panther Party, and I hope to have some film footage of when they vamped on her apartment and killed Mark Clark and Freddie Hampton. So I understand I got about a minute left. One more thing on the brothers from South Africa. You know, we hope to stay in contact with them ourselves. You know, I really like to get over to South Africa and meet with some of the revolutionary brothers and sisters and see how, you know, I'm not coming over there to try to start no businessman's organization or nothing, but just to exchange things because, you know, during that time, brothers and sisters, all the cattle prods that were used on our people in Alabama, you know, they were sent over to South Africa to use against our black brothers and sisters there. And as quiet as it's kept, they sent South African police officers to the metropolitan areas here in New York and big metropolitan areas to ride around with local police to see how they control the youth and how they did certain things, let certain things happen. So if you go to South Africa now, because as I was talking to the sister, I said every ghetto, metropolitan ghetto, no matter where you go in the world where there's black people, they have these idiosyncrasies. And the cops and the intelligence organization studies these things, and that's how they keep in control. Flood the place with drugs, you know, guns, that type of thing, and control them. And don't let them get educated, because once, brothers and sisters, once we wake up, they ain't gonna be able to handle us. I mean, you know, instead of voting for Tom Canberra, we should be trying to fight for single-member districts where we can vote somebody from our own community to represent us. Not Ernest McFadden. He's not representing us. The man got angry when I said he don't live in the community. But what I was talking about, if we had districts, we would have somebody that represented our interests. Wouldn't be scared to stand up there and talk and say that Chris Malone was executed by lowlifes on the police force, known lowlifes, history. So, Ron Kuby, we're going to sue you too, brother, you know, for what you did and what you didn't do. COINTELPRO is alive and well.